Hey guys, welcome back. And now that you have written down your hourly rate a week for chess training, let's see how you can fill those hours with the best possible training program. So always think, okay, you need to always think, what has the biggest impact on my chess? This is so important. That is the essence of this whole course. There are too many things to do, and everything helps a little, or most things at least help a little. But we want to filter out what has the biggest impact and then really do it. And just as an easy framework, I have created the 1/3 rule. What does that mean? The rule says that you should each spend 1/3 of your time for 3 different sectors. One is tactics or calculation, okay? Again, if you're below 1500, for sure, it's basically only tactics. Then when you get a little bit stronger, you can start take also a little bit calculation in it. But that is mostly just, solving positions. Once you have the basics, like you saw in the tactics video, you want to solve positions, and it's not so easy training. You need to be focused, but that's where really a lot of improvement comes from. That's where if you manage to, take those tactics that you see in exercises to your games and stop blundering, you will see the biggest improvement by far. Okay, this is so important. Then the second third should be playing and analyzing. Okay, that is because you do everything like you saw in the playing and analyzing segment. You basically train all of the areas by playing and analyzing. You train a little bit of opening because you improve them, and you just train your whole part of chess. So playing plus analyzing, very important as well. This is also 1/3 of your training time should go to that. And then 1/3 for the rest. Okay, and for everyone, being like, oh my god, why can't I spend more time for openings or for whatever? It's just because in the other 2 sectors, we just see so much more improvement. And again, we have limited time. And if you really want to see more improvement from your limited time, you need to take these hard decisions and resist doing things that are maybe fun to you, but don't bring that much improvement. So now we go to a more specific way where I talk about your training plan if you are a beginner up to 1500 rating, more or less. So this is a bit more specific, but it just incorporates this same 1/3 idea. Learning plus improving tactics, 35%. As you see, there is not even calculation inside here, because I really think that in the tactics, we need to first have the tactics, and then calculation comes later on. Then we have playing and analyzing games here, 30%. Okay. Again, that's trying to be a little bit more specific, but the whole 1/3 rule is always a good rule of thumb to go by. Then learning basic openings is 10%. Okay, that's 1/10 of your time that you spend on chess. Then you have strategy and positional concepts as well, 10%. You have basic endgames that would probably be from the beginning. It is learning checkmates, but then it goes to some basic endgame theory. But as you saw in the endgame section, there are very good resources to keep that very small, right? There is a 5-hour course. There is a book that just leads you through all the theory you need to know. So you don't need to spend that much time on there, right? You just need to have the basics, and then you're good to go. And then I always like to add 10%, and that's what it looks like in the end. But I like to add 10% for your free choice. Okay, these 10%, see them as, your bonus. Okay, you do your training very well, and for these 10%, do something that is still training. Okay, don't say my 10% is bullet. But you can choose from above which training you like the most. So if you like, studying some more openings, okay, put that 10% there, okay, but that still makes it a maximum of 20% of opening study, okay. And yeah, that is how it should look. And when you get a little bit stronger from 1500 to 2000, it still remains very, very, very similar. So you have improving tactics and calculation now. Okay, so you need to find your way a little bit there, how much calculation is actually smart. I would still at least have half tactics, but you can start solving some more difficult calculation exercises, or first trying to study really and think about how you can calculate correctly. You play a little bit less because you need a little bit more time for other things, so you can have 20% playing. A little bit more strategy, because it becomes more important that you know the plans right from. We are not blundering as much anymore. There are hopefully no one move blunders in your game, so you wanna start knowing more about the strategical ideas, starting maybe to outplay some opponents in that way. That's why we increase the percentage here a little bit. Openings stay the same, end games stay the same, and you have 10%, your choice. And this is how it looks. And again, still improving, and tactics and calculation plus the strategy, the playing and the analyzing is a very, very, very big segment. And that is just where most of the improvement will lie. And that's why we gotta do it that way if we wanna, get the most out of our limited time. And then you might wonder, well, but if I now do these things, I will maybe soon be above 2000, or maybe you are already and you still found the course interesting. Okay, then let's go shortly. But here I don't have anything specific, but just you can adjust for yourself now. Opening time increases slowly, okay? Slowly. There are some grandmasters that will spend majority of their time studying opening. That is fine, okay? But they are grandmasters and they master most of the other things, okay? So it is very important to not get driven away and say, now I have 2001 rating and now I'll invest 50% in my openings. That's not how it works, okay? So maybe every 100 points you win, you can say, I'll add 5%, okay? You really start to increase it slowly. It gets more important. Yes, I agree to that, but it's not the most important thing immediately. And some more tactics turn into calculation. That is the same that we saw already from the step from beginner to 1500 to 1500 to 2000, that tactics are nice. You can refresh your brain a little bit, but it doesn't have to be as much. And where you see now more improvements, because you start to really master the tactics, you want to do more calculation, more difficult, in a way, brain workouts, because calculation is really, really hard, and you can take up to 15 minutes a position. And this is especially if you want to improve in classical chess. Now, to end this whole segment, another reminder to keep it as simple as possible. And now you might think, oh, well, 5% a week, this gives maybe 10 minutes, or what? How do I actually do that? Okay, so how I recommend doing it is only doing one of opening, endgame, or positional chess per week, okay, or per month sometimes even. So you choose what is most urgent from these three things. You choose a resource you want to do, and then that's why this 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule, you have maybe a third of it where you study this specific segment. So if you feel, well, I have decent openings, I know a little bit about positional chess, but I have no idea of the basic endgames, maybe you get either the course or the books that I recommend in the endgame section, right? And you work through the things that you need to know at your level. And then when you finish that, maybe it takes you 2 weeks, maybe it takes you 4 weeks, depending also on how much time you invest and how big your league in the game is. Then you can think, okay, what is now my biggest league of these three things? Maybe now it's openings, and I should, build up my leeches study. So for the upcoming time, you build up your leeches study, and then you did that. Okay, and now positional chess needs to be worked on. Now maybe you need to work on some structures. So you get a structure book, and then you work through the structures. Okay, so you do one after another. This takes some time, but that is fine, okay? It's okay to not do some opening, endgame, or positional work for 1-2 months if the segment is okay. And always remember, as you play and analyze, you still do a little bit of it, right? The minimum you need, you still have, because you play games and you analyze your mistakes. And through this analysis, you will also always get a little bit of a feeling, where is my biggest leak, right? Where do things go wrong? And if you always lose endgames, well, then go back to endgames and do some more endgame study. So these 3 things, it's not so easy at the beginning to decide, but you just need to go with one. It won't decide. It won't be the decision that, determines if you're getting better at chess or not. So take one that you think is important, and then get that done and get to the next resource. One thing that is important is that you always should do tactics. Okay, that's really, it's the basic. It's keeping your brain going in the right way, especially if you play a lot of online chess. Let's say your goal is to improve in online chess. So you want to do tactics, because this immediately helps you play better at online chess. If you play over the board, then especially the playing and analyzing can come in periods. Okay, you can maybe not play for 2 months, where you say playing and analyzing is quite important, but then you play a tournament of 9 rounds, right? Maybe 4 hours a game, and you analyze those games on the tournament, but also at home, and that will be like 50-60 hours immediately, right? So depending on how much you can do every week, this is already a lot, and will fill out the playing and analyzing already quite a bit. So be aware of that when you plan ahead, right? Think, oh, actually I play so much, so I don't need to play as much when I'm at home. If you are just playing online, this is much more, it is much easier, because you just have 1/3 tactics, 1/3 playing basically all the time, and the other third you just insert what you want. And now the most important thing is really starting. Okay, now you have your amount of hours. You can think of the next week, for example, when you have time. You can start doing writing down when you want to train exactly. And let's say if you have 6 training sessions, the easiest way to start would be twice playing and analyzing, twice doing tactics, and twice doing opening, endgame, or positional chess. And if now you're not sure, well, which resource should I take? Well, go back to the respective sections, because there are the resources, and then you can pick one that is for your level, that should help you improve, and then you can start. And then, it's just about continuing, about feeling good that you actually, studied this whole course, and that you came to the point where you can write down a training plan, and you can start training more effectively, start training intentionally, and start training where you should see improvements. But you need to give yourself also a little bit of time, right? Well, not now, let's say tomorrow and after tomorrow you will do your first study sessions, and then in 3 days you play the first time and you didn't win 100 rating. That's also normal, okay? So there will be improvements, you will see improvements, I'm sure about that, if you really do the things like I explained them in this course. But give yourself also a little bit of time. We need time to absorb new things. We need time that improvements really come, that we really learn the skills to put into practice what we learned in theory. But yeah, this is just a great step for you. You will have now your training plan. Feel free to share your training plan in Discord server. Maybe other people have inputs, or you find someone, well, actually you have the exact same book that as me, and we have the same rating. Don't we want to read this book together? Or we want to test each other, or we want to play against each other. Whatever, you can find, people that are at the same way as you, or you can just find people being proud of you that you actually finished this course. You can give them inspiration to get to this point, and like this we get a little improvement family. And I just wish you all the best with your chess improvements. As always, if you have questions, do not hesitate to post them, and I'm happy to help you. I'm happy that you came onto this point, and I wish you all the best, and let's improve every day.